In Deringer's scheme, we had these embryo letters that lead to pictograms, then ideograms, and then at the fourth stage, syllabaries, and finally alphabetic letters. In the last 50 years, it's become customary to also mention abjads as one of the forms. It's where theoretically there are no vowels and the sequence is A, B, J, D. Now, in the course of the talks, I have shown you that these abjads, in cases like Samaritarum, have vowels for the letters, the whole sequence of vowels linked with the letters A and Rein. I've shown you that languages like Arabic have both an abjad version and another version, so that the story is not quite as simple as they pretend in the general books. But today I thought it would be useful to have an appendix to look at what the abjads do and contrast what we see in the general books and what is actually there on the ground. So if you go to Wiki, you'll find this diagram on the left, and it suggests that, well, here is English, then we get Greek, and then alphabets that come from, or that are linked with abjad, so Phoenician, Hebrew, and Arabic, according to this. Well, it looks lovely, and it shows you how the letters shift and so on. If that were the whole story, well, life would be easy. But to begin with, the same sequence, A, B, G, D, H, V, Z, comes in the alphabet of Adam, of Noah, Abraham, Phoenician, Samaritarum, and so on. So if we are to believe the claims, then this notion of an abjad isn't something that started with Phoenician in 1800 BC, or 1400, or whenever that is said to have started, but it started at the beginning when God created the world, or God created Adam at least, a few days later. Just to remind you, the basic structure of abjads is ABG, or I'll use the word version of the letter sequences. So Abjad, Hawaz, Oti, Kalaman, Safas, Karashad, Taktid, and the last one, TZ, GH. And this is for the 28-letter version for the... Again, to remind you that the situation is more complicated than you would get the idea from places like Wiki, is that there are versions of the abjad, here al-Mushagjar, linking to a runic alphabet, and I see here A, B, J, D, the value, and then these ferns, which, as I showed you in a much earlier lecture, comes from India in chapter 4. Here's a detailed version of this. This shows you frères, et meaning 8, hagels et, and tiers et. And so not only is it connected with the beginning of creation, it's connected with runes, and these runes are called Hahal runes. And again, the two versions of Ha, which is one of the last letters of the Sanskrit. If we go to the alphabet of Cancer, of Saint-Yves d'Alvedre, who's the one that was informed by that prince in India that there was something much older, and that led then to the Watan language, which is linked to the Umbanda in Brazil. We see, again, A, B, G, D, and so on. Now we get the astral connection with the astral alphabet, the derivations, and the Vatan alphabet again that we just talked about. And here Vatan is connected with Hebrew, Sanskrit, and French. Here we have a comparison between Futhark, Hebrew, runes, and the zodiac. Again, showing that there is a larger cosmological connection that we had been not thought of. And now I take the Arabic alphabet and go through it. Remember I showed you that cosmological chart where I link it with the 28 stars and the 28 manazil, which is the Arabic word for the nakshatras or the Sioux of the Chinese. And now we see, so A, letters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, G, D, H. And now we see that each number links to specific names of God, numbers of the attribute, so that's gematria again, then the class of the attribute, the quality, vice, or virtue of the letter, the elements, the perfume of the letter, the figure of the zodiac, the planets, the genie, and the guardian angels. So what, looking at the wiki thing, you could just think, oh, well, they took these letters in one alphabet and just made a slight switch and so on. But we see now that there's a whole cosmology behind it, and even more elaborate than the cosmology that I showed you of Ibn Arabi in lecture 6. And so I won't read all of this letter by letter, but simply to make you aware that here 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, again, have these names, the same sequences, letters 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, have the number values of 111, 129, 90, 256, and so on. And here are the next letters, and here are the next letters, and here are the final letters. So to pretend that the abjad is A, recent, B, that it's a simple switch from the Greek or the English is simply not sufficient. Now, for the rest of this lecture, I'll show you A, some of the very old alphabets that are involved, like Nabatean, which takes us to Petra, for example. And here again, A, B, G, D, H, W, Z. This is one of the earliest ones that is linked with the Arabic context. There are claims that this is where Arabic comes from. In any case, this is 1400 BC. So it's 400 years before the first Hebrew letter, and it has 28 letters. Yes, and then this is a major list, so it compares it with a series of other old languages, including Palmyran, Hebraic, Syrian, and Arabic. Here is another such list, which takes Samaritan, Moabite, Antiochian, Aramaean, C, Jerusalem, Syriac, and Edessan. And here you compare official Aramaic with Aramaic inscriptions, and you see the number of the letters and the variations in the letters. And here's another tablet of alphabets with Old Hebrew, Samaritan, Old Aramaic, and Aramaic Hebrew. And again, as in the introduction where I showed you the 33 versions of the Greek alphabet, we see that every letter goes through a tremendous amount of variations, so that if we were to build this dictionary of individual letters, fine and well, but we would need really to record all of these variants to get away from the idea that we now have in textbooks that there is one way of doing A, way of doing B, and so on. Well, I take you back to the numerical abjad based on the alphabet order in Arabic, and the numerical abjad based on the abjad value order, to remind you of these two different ways of doing the same thing. And now I thought I'd take each of the categories and show you some of the letter values of those categories, and then also the symbolic meanings of those categories. So A, B, G, D gives me Halka Bagada, and I won't read them all out, but Alap Beth Gamel Dalith, Alaf Beth Gamel Dalith, Aleph Bet Gemel Dent, Aleph Bet Gimel Dalith, Aleph Bet Gemel Dent, Antoim Benthin Gomor Dinain, Elfa Vath Gau Dau, Olaf Beth Gomel Dolath, and so on and so forth. Just come back one second. These are now the major alphabets that it's involved in, not 3 or 4 as the wiki people would like to tell us, but in fact this extraordinary number. And these are some of the symbolisms of that. Ace 2, 3, 4, Buddhi Amhamkara Manas Chitra, Eagle Crane Throne Hand, Highest Father Gabriel Way, the Creator, the Intellect, Soul, Nature, Bull Cow, Devil, Godliness, 4 elements, Beyond Potentiality, Agency, Actuality, Gabriel, Michael, Seraphiel, Azrael, Woman, Man, Adolescent, Adult in Transition. We're back to the tarot type of approach, Scepter, Cup, Sword, Pentacles, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. For HWZ, again, a tremendous amount of alphabets, a number of ways of saying Hawaza, Havavzai, Havavzayin, Hoivavzai, Hoivavzen, sometimes HUZ, HVA, HWZ, and then the Russian ones. And again, meanings, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Creator in relation to what is below him, intellect in relation to what is below it, soul in relation to what is below it. Emperor, Hierophant's lover, life, alas, radiance, ether, offering balance, meander, Serates, duck, window, nail, sword. And HWY has then a tremendous amount of variance, so it can be I, IU, IA, VHY, VHJ, WHY, HWY, even the sequence gets changed a bit. And then here are the languages in which they go, right from Yawi in Indonesia, through Pashto in Afghanistan, to Ottoman Turkish, and we're back in Turkey. And HTY, well, I won't read these all out, but this is more, the appendices are more for reference than for actual reading as a normal story. But I think it's still important to realize, here are nearly 30 languages involved, and the variance of how you write those 3 letters is quite remarkable. And again, different thankful, wealthy, powerful, footstool, zodiac mansions, and KLM, N. Remember I said there were a couple that were right there from the beginning, and of those ABCD or ABGD, and then KLMN, and then QRST. Those are the ones that were there right from the start. And this is why for this one we have a lot more alphabets involved, we have a lot more variants involved. And the meanings can be Lord, Omniscient, Victorious Light, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Sufficient, Benevolent, King Light, Truth, God, Mind Light, Bowl, Lioness, Owl, Water. So it's definitely not just one meaning. And of course there are different numbers involved as well. Well, the next one, the SAF apostrophe S, is one of the most variant ones, which you can see in terms of just how you write those 4 letters, sometimes just as 4 letters, and then other times as samik, ayin, pe, tzadi, and again, the alphabet's involved. The meanings: mother, eye, tree, sound, mother of all life, eye or fountain, thou art the tree of love, thou art the first voice. So it's almost as if this was like the Aum stage, or the vibration stage in the Saptaloka, the 4th Saptaloka, where we're changing from the mother to the actual sound that creates the universe. And then it can also mean support, eye, mouth, fishhook, and so on. QRST, like KLMN, tremendous number of alphabets, tremendous number of variants, from kaf, spelled K-A-F, to kof, spelled K-O-P-H, to kuf, to kof with a Q, or kopa, and so on. And again, cry, son, penitence, living, reviver, taker of life, mighty, so life and death, monkey, head, tooth, mark, and so on. And these are the final 2, with much less, because these, the Arabic has then the 28 letters, but if you have only the 22, then these 2 last sets drop out. This is not in any way a detailed survey of this, but it's simply to make clear to you that the abjad, which has become very fashionable in the last 50 years, is a lot more complex than simply saying, oh, it's related to a few things like Hebrew, and almost a spin-off of the Greek. Thank you very much.